Andy Mok joins me now from Beijing. He's a senior research fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Andy, how does China view these global challenges and its impact on food security when also trying to figure out the best way to feed its population and become more self-sufficient in the years to come?
No, this is a great question. As President Xi said about food security, that Chinese bowls should mainly be filled with Chinese food. And the challenges facing China around food security are becoming increasingly acute. But at the same time, we should recognize that this is nothing new. And in fact, the Chinese people, the Chinese nation, as it were, really was founded on food insecurity. Because starting with the Yellow River Basin, where the Chinese civilization originated, really these principles of becoming Chinese were all oriented around food security. So I think a lot of the measures that China's taken to address this problem are one, organizational and political, from political prioritization, pursuing policies to ensure that food security is achieved, to technological innovation. And of course, we can't talk about Chinese food security without mentioning Yuan Longping, who developed hybrid rice that really had a tremendous impact on rice production in China and was a very important contributor to China's food security.
Well, you mentioned technology and the hybrid rice, but what kind of other technological advances has China made when it comes to food insecurity? I mean, the hardware, the AI, the 5G. Talk about some of those as resources.
Absolutely. So there are a number of new exciting categories of technology I think that China is deploying to address, to increase food security. You mentioned AI and digitization is one. There was a very interesting experiment that happened about a year ago involving strawberries in China, where this was sort of an echo of the human versus computer in the Go competition, but to see who could grow more strawberries. A Chinese team using AI digital technologies or using traditional know-how. And the AI team actually produced more than double the output. So we can see that digitization, and in fact this prioritization of digitized villages will be very, very important. And building on Yuan Longping's pioneering achievements in increasing rice productivity, of course, gene editing, CRISPR-Cas9, some of these new tools, I think will also play an important role. And finally, I think the other category of technologies that can help with food security, not just in China, but globally, are these ways of plant-based or creating protein calories that are not traditionally grown meat, whether that's beef. Pork, of course, is a very big part of the diet in China. So there are a number of exciting technological advances happening as well. But again, I think we go back to this issue that food security in China is more than just a practical issue, but I think really goes to the very core of what it means to be Chinese. So I think that's also why we see such attention being paid to this issue.
Yeah, we touched on the past as well as the future, but there's a twist in this too, Andy. It's climate change. And talk about the impact climate change is having on all of this, taking into account that every region in the world has experienced some kind of extreme weather when it comes to, caring for your crops. Let's talk about drought-resistant crops and ways to kind of mitigate the impacts of climate change.
No, absolutely. And we're seeing, as a result of climate change, more and more extreme weather events, whether that's flooding, whether that's droughts, desertification, these other issues. And I think, again, it requires a coordinated response, government policies to address this, as well as technology. And one way, of course, this is being addressed is one of the challenges for China, in addition to these climate-driven challenges, is just the availability of arable land. So one important development is making more land available for agriculture. So China has an area about the size of Egypt, where the soil is too alkaline and too salty to grow crops, rice in particular. And again, there have been advances made in this area to make this kind of land available for agriculture. And I think this is one way to address some of these climate problems, in addition to I think measures to mitigate climate change, of course, is an indirect way to address these challenges. But there is a constellation of measures, I think, that are being taken to address these problems.
Always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us from Beijing, Andy Mok. Appreciate it.